So underneath that, though, there's that doubt. Does this really work? If you haven't been doing this, you've seen people do it, though. I mean, how many people do not know of Martha's success in Q4? Anybody here not aware of Martha and the success she had and the others that have been posting? So you're aware that people are making money doing this. So the question is either, does it really work? Or you've seen the success stories and you say, yeah, but can I make it work for me? And I just want you to know that I was there too. And it was about 11 years ago for me. And I was sitting, kind of at home, but in the same place saying, well, I'm seeing others making this work, but can I really make it work? And will I enjoy it? Will it be a dependable, reliable income doing something that I enjoy? I really didn't know. And the problem is that I didn't know what was available. I didn't know what I wanted it to look like. I didn't know if I was going to have fun doing it. I didn't know what the kind of money I was going to make. And I was risking a lot. It felt like I was risking a lot. And I think that many of you are in the same place. And so if I knew then what I know now, I would have done it differently. Believe me, I've made my share of mistakes doing this. It's been 11 years. It's been 11 years. This is my 11th year of selling on Amazon, 10 and a half years of selling on Amazon. I would do things differently. I would get there faster. Definitely, I would get there faster and with more ease. And there's a lot of different ways, though, that you can get there, wherever that there is for you. And so what I wanted to do over the next half hour here is kind of tell you where I've been, because I've tried a lot of different things. And then maybe you, in your minds, could try it on for yourself just by hearing a little bit about my experience. Would you like that? Would that be useful? Okay. You need some context. So many of you know that I'm a neuromuscular therapist. I've done that for 25 plus years. At this time, 11 years ago, it was nearly 20 years. And I worked on people that were in severe chronic pain. These were injured workers that could not return to work. And it was very deep, intense work. It was incredibly satisfying for me. I don't know that it was all that rewarding financially, but it was really incredibly satisfying. And several years before I came to Amazon, we had a law change. Know this guy? Yeah, the governator, as he's called. And he decided to reform workers' compensation. It was a mess in California. The bulk of my practice was working with injured workers. So I was getting paid through workers' compensation. And this was well before the shit hit the fan, if I can say that, in California with this. There was already a problem with workers' compensation. He campaigned on, I'm going to reform it, and he won, and that was the first thing he did, was go through reform, but it went to the state legislature to approve it, and it took them 4 years, nearly 4 years, to approve the changes. Now, it kind of implemented here and there, but they never could agree on the last thing. What was good care? What was qualified care? What would be paid for? And they adopted these federal guidelines, and I have a state certificate. I'm not a licensed doctor. I'm a certificated therapist. And I couldn't bill. The beginning of 2008, boom, January 2008, I could not bill. And it was a couple of months of collecting past billings, and now my income is 2/3 down of what it had been. And I was in trouble. So I needed to do something. There was another problem in 2008. You know what it was? Yeah. Okay, so now my clientele are out of work people in chronic pain. They can't work. And my therapy is consistent. It's, hours, sessions. Sometimes I'm seeing it a couple of times a week. It's all, the therapy that I did was something that might get them through a single day of pain. Might have one good day out of the week because they saw me. I saw the worst of the worst. And they don't have money. So I'm trying to build a cash business, and I'm scrambling to do things. My wife goes to yard sales, and it's like, okay, I can see some value that I could sell on eBay. Let me try that. And I did. And I started buying used stuff. And I learned how to specialize, and I bought cameras. I bought, things that I could sell for quite a bit of money, but it was a lot of work. And I was doing about $3,000 a month of net profit on the side after a couple of months of going to yard sales and doing eBay. It was hard work, and it still was not enough. And I stumbled across this little book by Skip McGrath. He's been in the eBay and Amazon space for years and years. He's still in the space, but his health is struggling. I don't know how active he is any longer. Anyway, I just owe him so much. I read this little book. I think it was a $17, $27 pamphlet of, what does it say? How to Sell Used Books, the complete guide to starting and running an online book business. Well, it is not complete, believe me. I read this thing and I thought, okay, I've got $50 that I could experiment. I'll go out and buy $50 worth of books and list them on Amazon. And just like many of you, I went out not knowing what I was doing and bought these books
and they really
found
were.
out none of them
And
would
so
sell.
then-
None of them were profitable, not a single book. But I didn't give up. And at the time, the technology was a little different. This is in the heyday or the wild, wild west or whatever you want to call it of book scanning. And this was brand new technology, not the device itself, the PDA, but the data that was on it. Same company, by the way, that we still use, a seller tool. And this was their product at the time. And I bought a scanner. Or I bought this PDA and I bought their service and put it on there. And you could see the V, the A, and the A. I don't know if you could see that. Well, it stands for very good, acceptable, acceptable. So it's similar data, works the same way. And I learned the system. And I started buying books. And it's when I went home and actually went through my library of neuromuscular therapy books and saw that they were worth hundreds of dollars a piece, and sent them in, and a couple of them sold like that. Like, your experience of selling things, you send them in and they sell right away. I was hooked. Just like some of you are, when they sell right away, oh my gosh, look at this. And so I want to give you my timeline of what I did and the choices I made and some of the lessons I learned, but what I would do differently as well. So that was 2008, summer of 2008. And I mastered this thing about the technology, and I went out and I scanned for books. And I became pretty good at it. But I was alone. I was a solopreneur. I had no training. I had one pamphlet, and then I scoured the internet looking for more information, and I put together what I could. I was doing it on my own. And I certainly could have been doing a lot better had I sought some help. But I had a fortuitous moment in which one of my competitors approached me. And I was traveling to Sacramento. I live in Redding, which is about 2.5 hours north of Sacramento. Sacramento has more books. And so I'd drive down there. I'm working 5 days a week on clients. I'd go down there 2 days a week, and I'd scan for books. I'd spend the night in a cheap motel, and I'm scanning books. And he approaches me, and he says, I've watched you, and I really appreciate the way you handle yourself, the way you manipulate the app, the books that you choose. I can tell that you're really smart about the way you're doing it. He said, I'd like to collaborate with you. You see, in the Goodwills, and for those of you that are staying tomorrow, you'll learn about this. The Goodwill especially, they bring out about 1,000 books or more, 1,000 items at a time once a day. And it's their habit to do this. They have this giant cart. It's got books on both sides. Well, the Book Scouts get pretty smart about this, find out when the cart's going to be there, and they all come in at one time. Or if they don't, all these valuable books get taken from the cart, put on the shelves, and the Book Scouts come the next day, and they scan the books, and they get them. What he wanted to do was make sure somebody got to the cart when it came out 7 days a week. And he was willing to do it 5 days a week. And he says, Brian, you tell me which 2 days you want to come down. I'll work the other 5, and we'll collaborate. We'll find out when the carts are coming out. We'll trade this information, and we'll make sure that we have an edge on all the other Book Scouts. His name was Larry, and he was my secret weapon. And I had a buddy, somebody that I could ask questions of. He had been at it for longer than I had, and it was great. And partnership is that lesson. I had somebody I could partner with. And well, Dr. Josie became my partner after a while in other ways. Now, we didn't combine our businesses together. We just collaborated. And because of that, both of our businesses benefited greatly. Far better working together with somebody than we could have been on our own, even though our businesses were separate. You all get that. Larry told me about FBA. And I said, oh, no way. I'd read about FBA. It was fairly new back then. I'm loading up a whole bedroom full of bookcases. And, as I buy more books, I've got more bookcases. I keep going to thrift stores and finding these bookcases and bringing them home and loading up my books, because how else do you store them? You can't really put them in boxes when you got to go find one book. I'm fulfilling all my own orders. And I hear about FBA and the additional fees, and people talk about the problems with it. I mean, you know what the problems with dealing with Amazon are. And it's like, I don't want to deal with that. That can't be profitable. Why would I want to spend all those extra fees? And he said, Brian, you got to trust me. It revolutionized my business. And so that's what I did that spring of the next year. I sent in like 50 books. Man, did they sell faster and for more money. And then I sent in more. And I had about 2,000 books in inventory by that time. That was maybe 9 months into it. And I sent them all in, and I've never turned back. So, I have another little lesson too. Well, before I started doing FBA, I was having to ship all that stuff. Remember? Well, if I'm shipping, what am I not doing? Sourcing. And what is the high value activity? So this young woman was dating my son-in-law, stepson-in-law, and wanted a job. She's a full-time mom, single mom, and very part-time work. She can work wherever she wants. Her name is Candy. She's gone on to marry my son-in-law, so she's now part of the family. And she started doing my shipping. And at that time, it was individual orders. So I learned by having a team that I could scale my business. FBA was also a team member, right? They're now doing the order fulfillment for me. So I'm scaling my business by having services, team, basically. Okay, that went really well. And in 2010, I'm trying to remember here, at the summer of 2009 was textbook season, the fall and the spring. That summer, I've been buying books and textbooks, but I didn't have a clue really what textbook season was about. I'd been through the spring and sold some textbooks, and they sold well, but I didn't get it. And that summer, my books sold so quickly and for higher amounts. It was, especially with FBA, it was like, whoa, the 3 Christmases a year I get? I had a Christmas, but I wasn't prepared for it. In fact, you probably heard me tell you here on one of those calls, I said, I got to tell you about Q4. It is so powerful. You're not going to believe it. You're not going to believe how powerful Q4 is until you go through it. You just can't imagine it. Well, it's the same thing with textbook season. I really didn't understand it until I'd gone through it. So 2010 was like, okay, I'm going to do something. I'm going to do textbooks. And that's what I really focused on. And there's another lesson in this. I chose that one apple out of all the apples I could have chosen, that one, and really focused on it. I specialized in textbooks, and I mastered textbooks. And that summer of 2011, that August, I did over $30,000, which is pretty common August now in textbooks. But that was like, wow, $30,000 in a month of books. And I had been in severe debt. I had been back taxes debt. I was 60 grand in debt because of that stuff that happened with my business. Now I'm out of debt and in the red, in the black. I like red. Red seems like it's a better color. So I'm in the black. And I had enough for a down payment on this home, which we moved into at the beginning on January 1st of 2011 into this beautiful home. We still live in there today. So that was about 20 grand that I put down on it. So I went from 60 grand in the hole the previous year to being up by 20 grand and buying this house. I had my lifestyle. I had the money. Remember the dependable, reliable income, doing something I enjoy? I had achieved it. It took me about 1.5 years then to get that full-time income. For me, I called it a minimum of $5,000 a month. And it took me about 18 months. I could do it faster now. And so that's what I did. In 2011, I was really happy. I bought $22,000 of books that year from Goodwill. I bought books from lots of other places, but I paid $22,000. That was my biggest source. I was still just going down to Sacramento twice a week, and that was the majority of my book buying. It was 2 days a week, a little bit in Reading, and still went to some yard sales and did that, and went to a couple library sales. But there was a problem there. 2011 was a year of scale, right? There was another problem. 2012. The very beginning of 2012, Goodwill had been paying attention to us book scouts and what we were doing with our scanners. What do you think they did? Yeah, I started hearing rumors from the managers that they were building a warehouse. They had rented a warehouse, a book warehouse. And then in December, the scanners came in. And then they hired somebody from Los Angeles, another bookseller, to come up and train them. Somebody that had been trained the Goodwills down there, and they trained the book processors how to use the same, well, it was a different tool, because the tool wouldn't give them the money. They didn't trust their employees to let them know how much profit was being made. And then they took all these books and they put them in the warehouse, books that were profitable, and they didn't get them all. That scanner wasn't very good, but still, they took a lot of those books, and I panicked. What's the lesson here? Is that the lesson? Yep, you got it. That's the lesson. So what would you do? You've been buying books. You've been incredibly successful. It's giving you the lifestyle that you didn't realize that you could get. It was better than neuromuscular therapy, believe me. And it's all going great, and then the bottom falls out. What would you do? Cry. Yeah, I did that for a little while. I panicked. I didn't cry. What's that? That's right. So I went to all that I could in Sacramento, as well as all the other book scouts, but I went to Reno. And Reno was a little farther of a drive, it's smaller, but I didn't have the same amount of competition, and I was getting more efficient at it, and it was working better. But I learned this lesson. What would happen in Reno if they did it there? So I didn't want to, I'm heeding this lesson. And I wanted to scale my book business, and I'm thinking I'll buy pallets of books. And I engaged some coaching, which, by the way, did not work out. So here you are. You're in this training community. I went to another training. I didn't know about Anne's training community, and she wasn't doing e-commerce at the time. I went to another one, and honestly, it did not work well. I hired coaching. And I don't want to go into that. Let me just say that I reached out to Skip McGrath, the guy that had written that pamphlet. And I said, Skip, I need help. I'm stuck. He didn't know me. I was just some guy that bought this $27 pamphlet from him 4 years before. And he said, what are you doing this weekend? Literally, that's what he said. He doesn't know this guy. I just call him. And he said, what are you doing this weekend? He said, can you come to Las Vegas? Yeah, I can come to Las Vegas. He said, sure, come to Las Vegas and meet me, and I'll walk you around this trade show called the ASD. And that's what you're looking at here is ASD trade show. You may have heard some rumors about it here because we talk about it in our community. It's the United States' largest consumer products trade show. It's a variety trade show. They sell just about anything and everything there. It got started in liquidation years and years ago. It's been going on for 30 years. It's twice a year. And I think this was in March. They do it in March and in August, and I went to the trade show. He was one of the speakers. And he and his wife spent the good part of a day walking around with Terry and I, just mentoring us, saying, these sell well on Amazon. These do okay on eBay. Hey, let me tell you about this guy over here. I know him personally. Let me introduce you. What can I say? So I feel indebted to this guy. And for those of you that have followed Anne for a long time and you have the soft spot about Anne and what she's done, I have the soft spot as well for Skip McGrath. So I see him occasionally at trade shows and other events. We're, first name basis, and his wife is really cool. And I know his health has been challenged, but I have this real soft spot for him. So what did I do at ASD? Here's a picture of the front of it. It's in the Las Vegas Convention Center. It's really big. I was going to say huge. It's really big. There's 2,700 vendors, 2,800 vendors, 4 days. That's part of one, that's a small part of one of 5 different halls. It's open to the public in the sense that you have to provide business credentials. So no, it's not open to the public, but anybody can get in. There's no special blocking. You just have to provide business credentials, such as a business license and a business card. Pretty simple stuff. Some trade shows are heavily controlled. This one's not. It's easy to get into. And in some ways, it's been called the Amazon show because a lot of Amazon sellers go because they have a variety of different products. So Terry and I would go twice a year. In fact, we went. So, Dr. Josie had told Ann about it and said, you got to come to ASD. So Ann and some other trainers come. I'm coming there anyway. Josie says, Brian, you got to meet Ann. I'd already heard about Ann, so we meet that, and that's what Ann was just telling you about. We met in the coffee shop, the Starbucks, right there at this very hall. She took a picture of the motorhome that's in here that I'm going to show you in a moment ago, just before that interview, when I showed her my motorhome. One of the neat things about this as a variety show is there's so much stuff. You see general store, closeouts, tools, luggage, outdoor, tactical. So you can use it to get wholesale accounts, to get ungated. There's all these things that you can do there. It's really cool. And there's closeouts. And also the bottom left, that's a source direct, in which Chinese and other international suppliers come direct from their countries and set up a booth, and you can order items from China right there. You can meet the manufacturer, the reps, and order from them. So if you want to do private label, if you want to do inventory clearance, if you want to do wholesale, and I did. Remember, don't put all your eggs in one basket. So I was buying wholesale, I was buying clearance, lots of different suppliers. That product right there with the woman, now I hired her as a model and a photographer, and that was a product that I was buying in bulk, and I wanted to advertise in a larger way. So had professional photographs done with her and the product right there. That product I actually bought originally on clearance, and I was expecting, 5, 6 pallets, and 9 pallets showed up. They actually overshipped me. I paid about $1.25 for that. $35. $35. Plus a bunch of other products. Ann had asked me one time when we were talking about doing the ASD trade show training, which, by the way, we have training on coming to the ASD and other trade shows. We have training on how to do wholesale and liquidation. She asked me about, what are my experiences, and I showed her this product, and the product line, it's MSM, it's a German brand. And I said, to date, I've made, on that original $6,000, I've profited $75, and it's gone over that, plus I've bought more. That pet carrier right there, that I was paying $12 for, and I was selling $60, $65. When I took this photograph there, I'd run out of them. Nobody else had it either, and they were selling just great. I bought lots of other pet items. I bought them from China there as well. And so I created my first private label brand was called Bark and Meow. And cute name, huh? Bark and Meow? Yeah. Since somebody else has taken on that name, I don't know if they've trademarked it. I didn't trademark it. Those are both my dogs, 2 of my Yorkies. And Coco, the little guy there in the little red cute thing, that thing never did really well, but that backpack carrier, that did great. That was a hot seller. And, it's trial and error. I bought a lot of different products. Some did well, some did not do well, but a lot of them paid for themselves in spades. And so the ones that maybe I had 3 really successful items for 5 so-so or duds, but those 3 more than overcame all the others. Because what do? You buy more and you go with it, right? You scale and scale and scale. So Josie and I would go to these. Eventually we started inviting members to come to this. We became the premier training company there for a couple of shows there at ASD. They gave us a big, huge room. We took members around doing the exact same process that Skip McGrath had done with me. We did with our members there. So ASD online, but where do you really get the information? We'll tell you a little bit later about how to get more information about that and the training that we have available about ASD itself. What I learned, though, And Skip McGrath was the one that really showed me. It's about relationships. It's all about relationships. And these are relationships with suppliers, relationships with the manufacturers. And I developed a skill at that time. So, I'm already talking to clients, right? My patients. So I already have some ability, some skill there. But when you start talking with suppliers and negotiating, you really learn some relationship skills. And that's what they want, are long-term, knowledgeable buyers. And one of the problems with ASD is that there's all these Amazon newbies, like I was when I first went. I started making my mistakes. I placed orders for things that weren't profitable and canceled the orders. I had some suppliers upset with me. I learned all that hard stuff. But I learned also how to create good, long-lasting relationships that I still have to this day with some of those suppliers. Even though I'm not buying products, they still know me. If I walk in their booth, if I call them, they knew who I am. They know what I sell. They call me and say, Brian, I've got this other pet item, or because I've specialized in pet, I've specialized in beauty. They contact me. Okay, so you saw that. I've done liquidation, I've done wholesale, I've done private label, I've done a lot of different things. But there's another lesson to be had here. All of that stuff was done on Amazon. And what's the lesson? Don't put your eggs all in one basket. What basket am I putting them in? Amazon. So don't get me wrong here. I love Amazon. I will never abandon Amazon. But I also saw that there was a potential that it could be a problem for me. Candida had a scare, and we walked her through that where Amazon said, you can't play anymore. You can't sell here anymore. And, it wasn't serious. But it was enough of a warning where they suspended her account. We got it. What did it take? 5 days? A little over a week. It's a pretty scary time. I didn't want that experience. I didn't want all my eggs in the Amazon basket. So I will never abandon Amazon. It has given me the lifestyle that I've wanted. There's the new motorhome there. My house, the trips. I'm going to Cabo next week. And I'll work some from Cabo, believe me, but I'm going to go there for 2 weeks. And that's down, that was on a Cabo trip right there. So, and then my sales. Look at this right here, the spike. Remember the Golden Spike Award? We're serious about that. See that spike and that spike? And then that's just a short-term spike right there. That's a full year. We get spikes, and we know how to do that. We've learned these different methods of taking advantage of seasons. So had I known this stuff sooner, I would have done a lot of this a lot faster. But most of it I got through trial and error. And it was only because I partnered with somebody or I got a mentor. And then I met Ann in this training community. And that's where so many more lessons have come for that. So again, I didn't want to put all my eggs in one basket. Let me talk about Amazon and then what's beyond Amazon for me. I need to kind of go back a little bit in time, just a couple of years, and I can take you to where I am today. So I've met Ann at this point, and she's invited me to teach. I did a webinar, and it was just kind of a trial thing. I did 1 or 2 webinars, evening webinars, like a free training, and then I came to one of these events in Minneapolis, and I trained at that. So that's where I was getting my start with that. At that time, I was brought in because the community here was moving from multi-level marketing, information marketing, to selling physical products, and specifically on Amazon. And I had this Amazon experience along with Dr. Josie Shepard. So what I'd like to tell you about Amazon is that I love Amazon because it's great for cash flow. It's a cash flow business. And that's basically what I was doing. I had this great lifestyle because I had this wonderful cash flow. But what I wasn't getting was the asset that I really wanted to build, something that was a long-term, something that had a lot of value to it. You see, the advantages and disadvantages of Amazon is that Amazon provides traffic, right? There's a ready source of traffic, and they spend money. It's easy to put up listings. They buy your products. It's got an advertising platform within Amazon. All that's really easy. But you're already learning about the challenges of Amazon. What about the competition? There's lots of competition. the Amazon restrictions. And here's the big two. I don't know if you know this, but you can't email your Amazon customers except for to service a sale. Once you have contacted them about the sale only, you can't contact them again. You can't say, hey, I think I've got another great product that you might really enjoy, something that every business should be able to do. Amazon owns those customers. They won't share them with you. You can't take your customers off-site of Amazon. It's against their rules. So you can't build a business. You can't build a brand. And that's what I wanted to do. This is what I wanted, was what I consider an established e-commerce business. I wanted a branded website. And many of you heard of Stir Crazy Gifts, my brand. I wanted a unique line of branded products with my name on it. I wanted these relationships with reliable suppliers that I could use over and over again. And unfortunately with Amazon, you find suppliers, so do other sellers, and the product, gets oversold. I needed products that I could sell that were just my products. I needed a way of doing order fulfillment, my own customer service, an email list that I could mail to over and over again. I wanted my own social media with my brand, the marketing campaign. So this is what I'm doing to this day. And I'm building an asset business. And by asset, it's different than cash flow in that it has value in itself. And that value builds as your business grows. Your value grows. So you could hand it down to somebody. You could sell it. Did you know you can't sell your Amazon business to somebody else? There's ways around it by putting it into a corporation, but Amazon doesn't allow you to transfer your business to somebody else. Did you know that? It's just the way they hand it. You're supposed to just shut it down. So this is my brand. This is what I'm working on now. It's Stir Crazy Gifts, and I sell to a variety of different markets. And as of the past year, I've been really focusing on the nursing market, specifically bulk orders to clinics, to medical facilities, and particularly for nursing, but also all medical care providers. So that's what I'm building now. That's my asset. And I had this wish list because remember, 2 years ago, as I started this, I'm an Amazon seller. In fact, that's what I called myself, was an Amazon seller. And I didn't want to call myself that. I wanted something bigger, my own brand. So I wanted this never-ending supply of products that were mine, that nobody else could list. Well, do any of you have that now on Amazon? You don't have that if you're buying from a wholesale supplier. If you're buying somebody else's product, you have to have your own product. I wanted to grow my inventory faster without putting a lot of money into inventory. Wholesale, it takes money to do that. Even online arbitrage, I said earlier today, well, you've got to plan your inventory, how much expense that you have in inventory. I wanted to create my own brand, of course, something that I could call mine. I don't know how many of you feel this, something I could call mine. And I'm going to have my own list of customers, my own web store. I wanted the control that it would bring me. And I found this POD, print on demand. Some of you have heard of print on demand because we've been teaching it. It's one of the courses that we have, the print on demand profit system. Custom merchandising was how it was told to me. See all these products right here? They're sold to you blank. And actually you don't buy them. They're suppliers and they'll print whatever design that you want on these products. There's lots of them. And you come up with a design, like designs for nurses, for instance, something that's a cool t-shirt or a coffee mug or whatever you have, but all of these products are applicable. And you don't spend any money on them. You create a listing for the product and use the supplier's website to create a listing. So this one's for a teacher. If a child can't learn the way we teach, maybe we should teach the way they learn, which is just a proverb that I got online. We put it on this mug and we put it up for Amazon, and it sells on Amazon. And we get to test products this way. So here's all these products that we have now, about 1,000 different POD products on Amazon, on our website as well. And we didn't pay a dime to put them there. They're blank. I mean, they're mock-ups. They don't exist until somebody orders it. And then the supplier prints your design on it and sends it off to the customer. So you collect the money, the supplier prints it, you give them the customer's information, they ship it off to the customer, and they take the money out of your account. And of course, it's a wholesale price that you're paying, and you're collecting retail for the sale. So it's like everything that I wanted was right here. I could put my brand name on it. They're my designs. I could keep people from copying them. It was great. I didn't have any money for inventory. And I gained also this ability to play with different niches. Because at the time that I created Stir Crazy Gifts, I called it Stir Crazy because I focused on coffee mugs. But I didn't know what audience, what market I wanted to sell to. So I sold to nurses, and I sold to teachers, and I do sell to retirement. I sell to Father's Day and Mother's Day, and a variety of different niches. And the nurse niche has been the one that's really percolated up for me, where I've had some really good sales. So I've been able to develop this brand and a market from all of this and steady cash flow. And this is where I'm at now. This is where what I did in the month of December. It's the best 30-day period that I had, which was right before Thanksgiving to right before Christmas. This year's sales of POD products. And I sold 3,000 products there and $48,000 of POD products on Amazon. Last year, I've been doing this for 2 years, I did $33,000 in that same 30-day period. So it's like, yes, I got my edge. I got my brand. I'm building my Shopify store. I'm building marketing campaigns. I'm building my asset. And at the same time, I'm taking advantage of this. And we've created this print-on-demand profit system course where we teach people how to do this and build it on Shopify, build your own website. But what we've realized is that all of you are selling on Amazon. This is the path that I took in this course. And it really is paying off in spades for me. Well, it makes kind of sense. If you want your own brand, if you'd like to do something like this for yourself, why not put these products on Amazon? So right now, we're introducing a training on how to do this exactly on Amazon with these products. There's no cash up front. You have to learn how to create designs and put them on these products, create listings. So there are some tasks that you have to learn. It is merchant fulfilled, but you're not fulfilling it. The print-on-demand supplier is. Now there's a couple of lessons. Bear with me for just a minute or two longer here. Okay. You got to learn how to research categories on Amazon. Now, Danita talked about some of that today, that the sales rank in one category is different than another. You're already getting some clues about this. You're learning of that category chart, the ranking chart. That's part of what you have to learn. How many products, how many units will sell for a product? You've got to be able to estimate that. Same thing that she was talking about. You're already learning that skill. Niche research. Should you sell to nurse t-shirts, or should you sell policeman t-shirts or teacher t-shirts or surfer or whatever? There's a ton of niches, like 500, 1,000 different niches that you could sell to. So you need to be able to research Amazon to see what will do well and what products would do well. And that's not too hard because Amazon gives you all the answers. They tell you the sales rank of products. You can see what's selling. You can create something similar. And then the product image part, where you have to come up with an image. Did you see that mug? Was that difficult? It was text on a white mug, black text on a white mug. And it's simple stuff like that that does pretty well. You create it through the supplier's website, and then you create the product listing. And you can put it also on your Shopify store at the same time if you build a Shopify store, which I do. And we scale the proven products, the ones that do well on Amazon. We do advertising campaigns. And then, of course, there's orders. You have to tell the supplier to ship that product. So these are all different tasks, right? The lesson here is that I've developed systems and tools and processes for this. That's how you scale it. And do you think I'm going to do this all day? I learned how to do it well, but who does it for me? Nick and Kirsten and Candy. They do the designs, they do the listings, they do the research, the customer service, the orders, and fulfillment. Now, I do spend time in my business, but I spend time working on my business rather than in my business. Remember, we've created over 1,000 listings for our POD products. I didn't create a single one of those listings. That's because we've created the systems here to make this work. So what do I get? You've already seen the lifestyle. I've already been talking about that. I got that a long time ago. I've had the lifestyle. Now I'm building assets that will, over time, that I can give this to my kids, or I can sell it and build another one if I choose. But also that I get to do what I really love. And this is the part that, now it's when I start to get choked up. I could feel it just kind of come right on up. This is where I get to sit in this chair and say, gee, I was sitting in the same place that you're at right now. And knowing what I know now, I would do it differently because I want to get to this place faster. That's Dr. Josie right there. For those of you who haven't met her, there's Sarasota. There's Danita right there. There's Ann's sons, Rob and Dave in China on our China trip. I get to train. I get to create trainings. I get to do the stuff that I love. The Mastermind group. And to be in the midst of these 4 very talented and successful women, Josie, that you know, and Ann, of course, this group went on for a couple of years. We met weekly. That's Kat McDivitt, who's an Amazon seller. That's Nancy Saunders, who's an Amazon seller. She has her own skincare brand. She has a sporting goods company on Amazon. Wow, just being among this mastermind group, it's a peer group and it's an accountability group. My business grew tremendously. And what lucky guy I am to be surrounded by these lovely ladies, too. There's a bonus there that way. Funny how it got set up that way. But I've got to hone something else. I was an Amazon seller. And now it's true, I'm an e-commerce business owner. But I'm also a trainer, and I get to work on professionalism. This is me training at ASD. I was scared. I was really scared at doing this one. This was the first big public group. You guys are a safe audience. This was big. Next year, they packed out the room. There's about 135 chairs that they squeezed in there, and they finally shut the doors because they had no more room. They couldn't let people in. And the next year, I went back and spoke to over 200 people, and it was like, that one, I mastered it. I was comfortable. The room was laughing. It was an awesome experience. Yeah, and that's what I get to do. And remember Skip McGrath? Well, these are people that we walked around with, that I walked around with, that Josie walked around with. I mentored these people. So what Skip McGrath did for me and the gratitude that I have for him, I've now gotten to give back and contribute in that same way. So that's my story. This can be really, really good. Thank you. Thank you.